They told you that helping others was noble, that your kindness would return to you in waves, that karma would take care of you, the universe would reward you, and people would love you for always showing up. They said your selflessness made you irreplaceable, but they lied. Not because help is wrong, or because compassion is weakness, but because they never told you the full price. If you pay attention closely, you'll begin to see a disturbing pattern. The more you help, the more people expect. The more they expect, the more they secretly resent you. And the more you keep giving, the faster they forget everything you ever gave. Machiavelli never said kindness was evil, but he warned it was dangerous, especially when offered without boundaries. Help given at the wrong time, to the wrong person, in the wrong way, transforms you from leader to servant. And no one who seeks power, psychological, financial, or social, can afford to live as someone's servant. This is the first law of strategic selfishness. Unpaid debt breeds resentment, not loyalty. You think helping others will make them love you. But the opposite is often true. The more you do for someone without making your value visible, without naming your price, the faster they rewrite the story. They'll convince themselves you were just doing what you should have done. They'll downplay your sacrifice. They'll shrink your impact to protect their own ego. Because here's the truth. When someone can't repay you, they're faced with two psychological options. Either they elevate you in their mind, acknowledge their debt, or they diminish you to avoid feeling small. Most people choose the second. It's easier to call you too nice than to admit they're using you. Machiavelli saw this play out in politics. A prince who frees a city isn't hailed as a hero. He's often despised. Why? Because now the people owe him. And humans hate feeling indebted, even to those who saved them. This doesn't just apply to politics. It applies to your relationships. You think you're helping them, but what you're really doing is planting a psychological trigger for future betrayal. It's not that they're helpless. It's not that they truly need you. It's that you've trained them to depend on you. Every time you abandon your own priorities to fix their crisis, you send a signal: my time is yours. My peace is less important than your chaos. I will carry the burden. Just keep bringing it. Do this enough, and they stop seeing you as a person. You become a function, a tool, a therapist, a safety net, a crutch. This isn't respect, it's extraction. And what you're calling connection is actually dependence without reciprocity. Machiavelli warned against this exact illusion. He knew the man who constantly rescues others will one day drown alongside them, not because they're malicious, but because weak people sink deeper when they know you'll keep diving in after them. You were programmed from a young age to help, conditioned to believe that good people never say no, that real friends always show up. But the truth is, that script wasn't written for your growth. It was written to make you accessible. You weren't taught to help strategically. You were taught to help habitually. That's why the moment you say no, you feel like a villain. Cold, distant, selfish. But here's the uncomfortable truth. If helping others costs you your peace, your path, or your power, it's not help. It's self-betrayal. And a man who betrays himself long enough will eventually feel betrayed by everyone around him. Not because they wronged him, but because he gave too much and expected them to fill the void. He confused gratitude with loyalty. But gratitude is fleeting. Loyalty is forged not by constant giving, but by strategic giving to the right people at the right moment in a way that preserves your strength. That's not selfish. That's strategy. Every time you say yes, when you should say no, you're paying with more than your time. You're paying with your momentum, your identity, your future. Because first, it ruins your time discipline. You keep putting out fires that aren't yours. You delay your goals. You pause your growth. Suddenly, your house is on fire, and no one is around to help. Second, it creates hidden resentment. You tell yourself, I'm doing this out of love. But underneath, you're keeping score. You expect basic respect, maybe a thank you, a favor in return. When it doesn't come, you feel used. But you can't say anything because you offered. So you swallow it until one day you erupt. And now you're the problem. You're dramatic. You're too emotional. Third, it creates the worst filter possible. It attracts the weak and repels the strong. Strong people don't need to be rescued. They have boundaries. They value independence. They want peers, not saviors. But the weak, they smell your compulsion to help, and they come running. You become a magnet for people who have no intention of evolving. They want to be saved, not strengthened. They want relief, not responsibility. Machiavelli would say, if you're known as everyone's crutch, don't be surprised when no one sees you as someone who can stand tall. This doesn't mean you become cold. It means you become selective. Strategic selfishness means you don't give out of guilt. You give only when it aligns with your values, your vision, your boundaries. You help only those who've earned your attention. You invest only in people who return strength, not stories. Because the man who helps everyone ends up owned by everyone. But the man who helps selectively, he gets chased. His energy is respected. His time is guarded. And his presence is remembered. Not for being nice, but for being rare. So stop bleeding for people who wouldn't even hand you a bandage. Stop sacrificing your goals just to appear kind. Stop thinking your value lies in your usefulness. Your time is an empire. And empires are not built on favors. They're built on clarity, boundaries, and ruthless prioritization. This is the era of strategic selfishness, not because the world needs less kindness, but because your power is not infinite, and not everyone deserves access to it. The age of being endlessly nice, endlessly available, endlessly reliable, that age is over. Because here's what happens when you live in that role for too long. You become predictable. And predictability, in human psychology, breeds complacency. People stop appreciating what's constant. They stop valuing what's always there. They treat your help not as a gift, but as a given. Machiavelli understood this well. He didn't advocate for cruelty. He advocated for control. And control begins with self-ownership. So what happens when you begin to reclaim that control? They get uncomfortable. The moment you stop answering every message, the moment you stop jumping into every fire, the moment you choose yourself, they panic. But they won't say, I miss being able to use you. They'll say, you've changed. You're cold now. You think you're better than us. And here's the Machiavellian insight. They don't say these things because you did something wrong. They say them because you've stopped playing your role. The role that made their life easier. The role that allowed them to be lazy, emotional, chaotic, without consequence. And now they're exposed. Not because you hurt them, but because your absence reveals how much they depended on you. This is how power works. True power isolates, not because you push others away, but because you refuse to be pulled down. You've probably experienced it already. The man who gives endlessly, listens endlessly, serves endlessly. Where is he when the rewards are handed out? Where is he when leadership is needed? When influence is passed down? He's forgotten. Not because people are evil, but because people only remember those they can't replace. And if your value lies solely in what you give, then the second you stop giving, you disappear. This is the brutal reality of emotional economics. If you trade in approval, you will be emotionally bankrupt. If you trade in strategic power, you will never need to ask for validation again. Machiavelli warned us, being useful is not the same as being respected. Being kind is not the same as being untouchable. Because once your identity becomes the helpful one, you hand over your power. You let others define your worth. And worse, you let them withdraw that worth the moment you stop serving their needs. This is why strategic selfishness is not cruelty. It's conservation. It's psychological boundary setting. It's the decision to stop being a lifeline for those who refuse to swim. Think about it. The strongest men you know, are they constantly available? Are they the ones who drop everything at every request? No. They are selective, guarded, unapologetically focused on their empire. Because in a world addicted to distraction, chaos, and emotional outsourcing, saying no isn't just power, it's protection. When you start saying no, people don't ask why you changed. They ask, what happened to you? As if self-respect is a disease. As if evolution is betrayal. But Machiavelli would say, let them ask. Let them wonder. Their confusion is confirmation that you've grown beyond their reach. And the moment you stop being easily accessible is the moment you become psychologically expensive. You're no longer the crutch. You're the prize. Not because you said yes, but because you finally started saying no. And make no mistake, they will react. Some will try to guilt you. You used to be so kind. You don't care anymore. You think you're too good now. They'll frame it as concern, but it's not. It's fear. Fear that your detachment threatens their comfort. Fear that your boundaries mean they now have to earn what was once freely given. This is when you must stand firm. Because if you fold now, you reinforce the very pattern that's been draining you. You go back to being the emotional utility, the public charger for everyone's chaos. But Machiavelli reminds us, power is not given. It's trained. You don't teach people how to treat you by what you allow. You teach them by what you deny. The fool helps by instinct. The strategist helps by calculation. This doesn't mean you strip yourself of empathy. It means you audit the request. Ask yourself, 1. Why are they really asking? Are they seeking wisdom or avoiding responsibility? Do they respect your insight or just know you won't say no? 2. Have they earned it? Have they ever supported your growth? Do they show up for you or only when it benefits them? 3. Does it serve your trajectory? Is this helping them part of your mission? Does it build your empire or just delay it? Because if the answer to any of those is no, then the help you give isn't generous. It's a tax on your time, your peace, and your potential. It's a quiet self-sabotage, dressed in the costume of virtue. Let's be clear. You are not responsible for anyone's healing. You are not required to make anyone feel better about their stagnation. You are not obligated to dilute your ambition to make others feel safe. That's not kindness. That's suicide. And when you finally embrace this truth, something remarkable happens. You stop attracting the broken. You start attracting the builders. You magnetize those who respect your time, your space, your standards, because only the strong can handle your distance. And only the powerful will appreciate your no. Let the others fall away. Because if your presence was only appreciated when it was easy, then your absence is doing you a favor. So what does it actually look like to become strategically selfish? It starts with reclaiming your role. You're not a fixer. You're not a savior. You're not a substitute for someone else's effort. You are a builder, a selector, a force. You are not a man who gives endlessly. You are a man who gives rarely and with intention. Machiavelli would call this the shift from emotional generosity to strategic positioning. And it's not just a mindset, it's a structure for life. Step 1. Make help a transaction, not a donation. Even if it's emotional support. Even if it's just your time or your insight. Make it cost something. Not money, effort, commitment, discretion, loyalty. Because when something is given without cost, it's received without value. If they didn't work for your attention, they won't fight to keep it. If they didn't earn your presence, they'll treat it like background noise. You must let them feel the weight of receiving your energy. This is how you separate the opportunists from the allies. Step 2. Never help the same way twice. Help should be a catalyst, not a cycle. If someone needed you once, fine. If they need you again for the same thing, that's a pattern. And patterns destroy sovereignty. You are not their second brain. You are not their emotional landfill. You are not their plan B. Machiavelli warned that repeat favors become weakening rituals. They create dependence, and dependence breeds contempt. People begin to expect your intervention, not appreciate it. Instead, help once, then vanish. Let them rise or fall on their own. That's how you test for strength. Because if they can't survive without you, they were never strong enough to stand beside you in the first place. Step 3. Only help those who rise with you. There's a difference between someone who's lost and someone who's stagnant. One needs a map. The other just wants company in their failure. Help people with momentum. People who are building, growing, protecting something of value. When they rise, they take you with them. But help someone who is stagnant, who has no vision, no hunger, no fire, and you'll find yourself being dragged. Their chaos will become your schedule. Their indecision will infect your clarity. Their pain will become your identity. Never help out of nostalgia. Help out of alignment. Some of the most dangerous people in your life are the ones who used to mean something. But meaning is not momentum. Connection is not compatibility. And here's the hard truth. Sometimes the greatest help you can give someone is to stop helping them at all, to withdraw your attention, to remove your protection, to leave without warning. Because until they face themselves without your shoulder to cry on, they'll never evolve. And until you step back, you'll never see who they really are. Will they rise or collapse? Either way, you keep your power. This is the deeper Machiavellian wisdom. Mercy must be cold. Kindness must be chosen. Help must be laced with cost. Because when you save someone too early, you don't just delay their growth, you become their ceiling. And a man who becomes the ceiling of others never builds a roof over his own empire. You think you're helping because you're generous. You think you're helping because it's the right thing. You think you're helping because you're strong. But strength without discipline is a liability. And generosity without limits is a trap. Stop helping to be liked. Stop helping to be seen. Stop helping to keep people close. Let them rise, or don't. But you must rise regardless, because your empire will not be built on emotional charity. It will be built on selective loyalty, on respect earned through distance, and on strength that serves itself first, so it cannot be hijacked by the weak. And make no mistake, when you stop helping carelessly, you will lose people. But you won't lose friends. You'll lose leeches. And that's where unstoppable power begins. You've been lied to. Society's biggest scam is this: you owe the world your energy. You don't. You owe no one. Not your time, not your help, not your emotional labor, especially not the people who would never lend you theirs. Machiavelli never promoted cruelty. He promoted calculation. Cold, clear, and unapologetically self-serving. Because the man who helps everyone ends up with no one helping him. Most people don't want connection. They want access. They want to plug into something stronger, to dump their guilt, their drama, their pain. They don't want growth. They want relief. And you've been giving it for free. But now, that ends. No more emotional charging stations. No more psychic dumping grounds. No more sacrificing your stability for applause that disappears the second you're no longer convenient. They say, "You're the only one I can talk to. You always know what to do. Thank God you're here." But where are they when you're drained? Where are they when you need clarity? Where are they when the weight shifts to your shoulders? Gone. Or worse, confused about why you're not available. Because you helped them once. They feel entitled to you forever. That's what Machiavelli would call emotional taxation, a hidden cost that compounds. And the more you give without discipline, the more people start to treat you like a resource, not a force. And no kingdom, no legacy has ever been built by being a resource. This is why detachment is so powerful. It reveals everything. The moment you stop helping aimlessly, everyone shows you who they really are. Some will disappear. Some will guilt you. Some will turn on you. None of it means you're wrong. It means you were convenient. They never loved you. They loved what you provided. And now that it's gone, they panic. Not because they lost you, but because they lost the benefits. This is the test, and most men fail. They break, they return, they become helpful again just to keep the peace. But peace, Machiavelli said, is not the absence of war. It's the presence of control. And the man who helps endlessly, he has no control. Not of others, not of outcomes, not of himself. He's not keeping peace. He's being kept in place. So how do you escape this prison? You stop helping like a savior and start acting like a sovereign. That means you help sparingly, you observe silently, you choose precisely. Because the strongest man is not the one everyone runs to. It's the one who doesn't need to be needed, the one who holds his power close, who offers it in doses, who never trades his energy for acceptance. This is what Machiavelli would call benevolent dominance. Not cruel, not cold, just clear, just controlled. You give, but only when it creates leverage. You support, but only when it aligns with your vision. You protect, but only what's worth protecting. And the rest, you let it fall. Let the weak struggle. Let the ungrateful collapse. Let the manipulators turn bitter. You are not their answer. You are not their mirror. You are not their foundation. You are a mountain. And not everyone deserves to climb you. Because when you finally stop trying to be the emotional architect of other people's lives, you free yourself to construct something greater, a life of clarity, a mind of precision, a legacy of quiet strength, not bought through service, but built through selective power. And this is the truth that will cost you everything, but give you back yourself. Stop helping everyone. Start choosing yourself. And watch how fast your empire begins to rise.